evening. Welcome to the Goffstown Planning Board Subcommittee, which is the Capital Improvement Committee. This is hopefully our last meeting, but we'll see how it goes. We begin with introductions, starting with Joanne.
Joanne Duffy, Planning and Economic Development Director.
Jim Raymond.
Brad Parkhurst, Community Member at Large.
Mark Lemay, Select Board Rep.
Tim Redmond, Planning Board.
Vanessa Hayes, School Board.
Jack Carbonell, School Board.
Olivia Welch-Erdahl, Budget Committee.
Thank you everyone for being here. Everyone got an updated CIP matrix to discuss tonight if we get to that point, and we have minutes from the July 31st meeting. Does anyone want to make a motion regarding the minutes, or would you like to hold off until we have a chance to look at them? We can deal with them at the end of the meeting if people would prefer.
I've already read them, so I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion been made by Brad to approve as presented, seconded by Jim. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Me.
Jack?
Jack.
Yeah, he was not present. Motion passed. Joanne, our first agenda item tonight is the library's presentation.
Yes.
Before I ask the library representatives to come up, do you have anything?
No, excuse me. A few meetings ago, you did receive an update from Diane where she had changed the 38,000 for the parking lot to 33,000, and that should be in your binder
That's the one I
under
got.
library.
Okay, well mine says 38 still, so change it to 33?
Yes.
That might have gone out the meeting you went.
Yep.
I haven't.
All right, so that's the only change we have for discussion? Thank you. Yes, the library representative to come on up and give us your name for the record, please.
Good evening. I'm Terry Curtis. I'm the chair of the Library Board of Trustees, and I'm here to speak on our CIP motions. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the library. Our library was built in 1909, so it's been around for quite some time and needs some work. We have two items for CIP, but before I talk to them expressly, I just want to give you some updates on other capital improvement projects that we're doing with the library right now that will lead into these. So the library trustees take very seriously the care and maintenance of our building. It's a beautiful building. It's an important building for this town. So to deal with the historical aspects of that building, one of the things that we're doing right now is we are aggressively working on an LCHIP grant so that we can get grant funding to help us replace the restore or replace the historic windows in the library building. That was one of the projects that we were hoping to do if we got to see our capital reserve fund, and we're trying to find other ways to be able to fund that. So that is a project that is ongoing right now, and our second project is going to feed into that. We're also, if you are aware, when it rains, we sometimes can get an enormous amount of water in our parking lot, sometimes up to a foot. There is money in the budget this year, but it's not enough for us to have a drainage project going on. So the library has gotten a couple of bequests from citizens through their will this year, and we're looking at combining that with town money so that we'd be able to fund that full drainage project. That's an important project because it feeds into our 2026 CIP project, which is to do parking lot repaving. We can't really repave the parking lot until we have the drainage problem taken care of. We hope to have that drainage problem taken care of this year, or at least completely encumbered to be done this year. We do have to wait some time after the drainage project is completed before we can actually repave. We need to make sure that we the pumps are working properly, we don't need to disrupt the pavement, things like that. So there's $33,000 in there to repave the parking lot, both the lower and the upper parking lots, once we've had that drainage problem taken care of. So we are doing our best to be able to leverage library trust funds, town funds, and then hopefully CIP funds to be able to maintain the parking lot in an appropriate manner. And if people have questions on that particular CIP project, I'll take questions now, or I can continue on.
You can continue on.
All right. So I also mentioned that we're doing the window restoration, and we're hoping to do that with an LCHIP grant. Again, our library was built in 1909. It's a historic building. It needs to be treated and preserved properly in historic fashion. So working with LCHIP for the windows, we hope to get that done. The second thing, though, that we need to have done is to have repointing of all the brick, the chimneys, the walls, etc. Again, it's quite an old building. It needs to be done in a historically intrinsic way to make sure that we are not just making anything worse by introducing poor materials. So in 2027, we're hoping to have $90,000 appropriated for that repointing project. And again, I'll take any questions that people might have.
Any questions for the library?
I got one, because Jack might be able to answer this, or even you, Tim. What does repointing mean?
Repointing means you go around and fill all the voids in the brickwork mortar.
Okay.
So sometimes you have to cut it out if it's loose, and you actually just push it back in from the outside and dress
Thank you
it
very
all up.
much.
That prevents water from getting behind the brick,
Behind the brick, yeah.
Thank you, guys.
damaging the wood.
I have a question too. There was a little bit of talk last budget cycle about combining the drainage with the windows under the L-chip. Did that not?
In consultation with the folks from LCHIP, they recommended that we separate those
Separate
two
them out.
projects.
Okay, so will you be working towards another L-chip grant? Are you allowed to, or would it be separate?
There is we hope to pursue more LCHIP grants. This is our first time trying to get LCHIP funding. And it's, there's a team of people
Yeah.
that are working on it, as
I
you're
was gonna say,
aware.
it's labor intensive, yep.
So it's somewhat labor intensive. It's one of the reasons the repointing is out in '27 and not in '26, because if we are successful with this LCHIP grant with the windows, we do plan to apply for another grant if possible, if the grant rounds are available,
Okay.
to either completely fund or offset the payment of this. And as some of you may know, for part of the LCHIP program, we're also working with the Goffstown Library Foundation so that they are helping us raise the match that we would have had if we had a capital reserve fund.
Okay, thank you.
Questions on appropriations, you should know this, but does the library appropriation go into, if it's not a special or separate warrant article, into the town operating budget as a line item, so it's proposed to the selectmen's operating budget amendment, article?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
If you know the answer,
I mean, our budget is presented to the town under the town's warrant article. So, but then there's a difference on how spending is done by our statutory
Yeah,
authority.
I understand that, couldn't understand the pathway.
Anybody else? Well, thank you for coming in.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, the next department that's presenting tonight is the sewer. Needs to be stated for the record that the sewer is an enterprise fund. It's not yet tax dollars, Therefore, any requests in the CIP matrix are funded by the ratepayers. So, let that out there for everyone to know. For the record, please.
Corey Wick, Sewer Department.
Thank you.
So, for the next 6 years, we have, it's a little different than what we presented last year because of trying to work with the Department of Public Works. So all our major projects, they don't plan on going where we want to go. So we've shoved those out. I shoved them out 3 years. Will it be 3 years? I don't know. Probably not, but we hope we can work together. So for the next 3 years, I budgeted $550,000 for camera work, pipelining, and point repairs. And you
Can
could,
you explain to the folks what point repairs are for?
so
Chris, we're on page 5 of 8 on the matrix of the sewer for the items he's talking about right now.
point repairs are when we camera the sewer mains and you find a significant portion that's damaged, you dig down and replace that section. You're not replacing the whole line, you're just replacing sections of it. So you're basically just getting rid of the bad spots. And you don't know where they are until you camera it. And so we'd like to go through and camera sections and fix the issues we find within that budget. In the last 3 years of the projects that we presented last year, the Higgins Street, Plummer Street, and Kermit, that whole section of the flats, as we call it. And the only other thing we have in there is 2030 replacing our Dodge pickup truck if necessary.
Okay, any questions for Stuart? Corey, go ahead.
The sewer work, is it the whole system you're gonna do camera work, or just in
I-
those rules that you?
The plan is to re-camera, the whole town got cameraed back in the late 80s, early 90s. That's 30 plus years ago now, and obviously things change. We have records, but again, it's all paper records. There's no actual video footage of any of it. And with the new technology and the camera work, they can send it right to the IT department and upload it right into the GIS system. So all the information is right there, and it's accurate. A lot of the records we have now aren't as accurate as you would hope, because when they would camera the steep sections, the camera would actually slide, so you don't actually have perfect measurements to sewer services, we found, in digging a lot of them up. So it'd be nice to have every customer sewer service on GIS so we can find them.
I can remember when we redug the main lines in '85.
Not that long ago.
Been a couple
40
since then,
years
Jack.
ago.
Been a couple since then, we might have added a couple.
Well, this big main line that went down through Penardville, that was less than 30 years
Oh,
ago.
that was, yeah. I guess it was the conversion from septic plant to pump station.
So then you've got your 26 to 28 laid out. 29 to 31 is actual work that is going to be coordinated with Public Works, hopefully.
Hopefully, yes.
Explain to the folks here why we coordinate with Public Works, please.
We coordinate with Public Works, so everybody's changing their infrastructure in the right of way at the same time. It's not cost effective for our department to go in, replace the lines, then we're stuck repaving the entire street, and then 2 years later, if Public Works needs to do something, they go and dig it all up. So we try to stay in line with them and work on the same streets, so we can do our thing, they do their thing, that we cost share asphalt and stuff like that, so it's just more reasonable for everybody.
It's also a cost savings for the town because the sewer department is picking up half the paving for the town that would normally be paid, both paving jobs would be paid for by the town.
Correct.
This is a past practice that's been going on for years. It just hasn't aligned lately because the streets that the sewer department has that repair are in the flats down in Penardville. We call them the flats because everything is running at 0.5% or less. Mark can attest to that.
Yep.
And Public Works is not planning any work down there. We actually did, I'm a sewer commissioner, so we actually did a street down there, and we ended up paying for the whole street. And then DPW did kick in at the end with a little arm twisting, and they helped out with it a little bit because they got a brand new road out of the deal. So,
Is that why though, I'm looking at you're flat for the next 3 years,
Correct.
and then,
Then it bumps up.
and that's when Public Works and you were starting, so you're kind of chilling for a while.
Mhm.
well, we talked about this, and we budgeted for point repairs, a framework for point repairs and camera work. We're gonna stay within our budget. But when we go out for a bid for a big job, the numbers have doubled since 2019. What we used to get for 350,000 is 650,000 now. Just the way it is.
Well, the point I'm asking is, and as you point out, this doesn't affect taxes, because it's an enterprise fund, but we've tried to avoid ups and downs. Maybe you don't, the sewer commission doesn't have the same concern, but to lower your costs and then push them back up, does that create rumblings in the other regions, or is it not
Well,
something you have to, because you're unusual, you being the sewer department, in the way it passes the costs on.
We had to bend to the conditions that we had available to us.
Okay.
We couldn't count on a 50% donation from Public Works for the paving, because their road list is different than ours. So rather than forge ahead, Corey is gonna do extra maintenance, point repairs, keep everything working until such a time that we can tear it all out and put new in. At the same time, the town does their drainage, and then we split the cost of the paving.
Okay.
So that's our methodology.
Yeah.
Quick question, in those outlying years, which I know we don't know, are they also gonna be in the, an I-built flat area, or their projects in the village?
Outlying years will be in the flats. That's, essentially the flats will end up being a 6-year, to do the whole thing, it's 6 years.
Okay, thank you.
It's in our, the summary sheet. Higgins Street is 30, and Brookline Street and Higgins Street are 31.
On Plummer Street.
Okay, thank you.
I think that our big plan for sewer line replacement was 7 major projects to have all the problematic lines completed. And we did 2 in the last 2 years. We did Louis and Albert down there. So we still have 5 more realistic ones to do, including Rochambeau, which Mark lives on. His road needs it badly. But the way that Corey's laid it out, you always start at the lowest end of the system and you repair uphill so that all the flows are going into new pipes as you fix the streets above them. It's just plumber's test, water runs downhill. So you gotta fix the downhill stuff first. And that's been we've debated this, believe me. It's been talked about ad nauseum, but that's what we came up with, and Corey is a superintendent, and he does a great job keeping everything working, and we're all very appreciative, so. Any questions for Corey regarding this sewer? Thanks, Corey, for coming in. Joel?
Thank you.
All right, we can, Scott Gross has volunteered to show up tonight, if in case there was any questions for him regarding the school. Come on up, Scott, if you want. I don't know if anybody had any questions for Scott regarding the school presentation. I will tell you, Scott, that at the prior meeting, I'll have you just say your name for the record, please.
Oh, Scott Gross, Goffstown School District.
We,
I'm not around to.
we commented at the meeting when Randy was here that we would have liked to see more projects in the out years, more spread out rather than the one giant bond. But if that was your game plan, we're not questioning it. We're just saying that CIP is supposed to be multi-year projects. And I mean, we didn't see that from the school department.
I can address that.
Excuse me, Tim, can you pass that to Vanessa?
This?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry.
So, as you may or may not be aware, the school district last year did a roughly $3 million municipal lease, dealt mostly with boilers, things like that. In looking at 28, 29, the initial thought of the school board was to lump some of these projects together, either in a bond or in another municipal lease, rather than, spreading, them out for, for funding purposes. So rather than doing, different bonds or different municipal leases, we would just do, one bigger one. So that is, the decision or the manner in which the school district wishes to proceed. I don't know if that will change with a new board, a year from now, but I think the direction is to try to, target that. We have been able, to do various projects, like the last one, for an example, we got, over 500,000 in rebates. So that's another thing sometimes where that triggers decision-making when there are energy incentives. In this last case, it was Eversource that I think we picked up over $500,000 in rebates. So you target those when they're available, and then sometimes they're not. So you can't. So, but that was really the game plan, Mr. Chair, was to just lump them, together. But again, this is what one board wishes to do, and then it could change. Things could always change.
Well, it goes to Jim's point about us trying to massage the tax rate over a 7-year period so that we don't see major fluctuations in CIP schedule that affects the taxes. That's, I think, I'll let Jim speak to that if you'd like to, Jim.
If I may address that, Mr. Chair, when you do a municipal lease or a bond, you then incur, an annual payment. So in the case of the the $3 million project that we did, now we're going to have a $62,000 payment for 17 years, to pay for that. So that, in essence, tries to level out, things as best you can. So I think communities do a combination of things to level out the tax rate. One is through financing, and you're having a payment, a consistent payment over a 10, 15, 20 year, whether that be a bond or a municipal lease. And the other is to not finance. So in one case you're financing, the other one is not financing, and then you're doing it in a manner in which I presume you're discussing, where you're kind of targeting it. But I think the school board and the school district is mindful of not having crazy ups and downs.
All right. Jim, do you want to speak to that?
So is this the year of the 2029, just of the, call it the appropriation, the funding, but is are you doing the work in that year? Is this a funding year or a work year?
It would be,
usually you try to spread them out.
It could, more likely than not, my assessment would be it would not be in 1 year. So that would be a funding year. The work would be done over 2 because there would be too much. I want to also, if I could, and Jack and Vanessa could certainly chime in, but one of the things that the board tries to endeavor to do is that in a given year, which you have, let's say, a labor contract. So the schools, their budgets are 70-80% labor driven. So our teachers and our staff are the lifeblood of things. So they've got a contract coming up, and hopefully they'll negotiate a successful one, and then that will be on the ballot in March. So they try not to put like a bond or a municipal lease or some big thing to compete against a labor contract. The following year, 27-28, would be our support staff contract. So 28-29 would hopefully be neither. So you wouldn't have folks kind of picking and choosing, I'm going to vote for a contract, not vote for a project, those types of things.
Well, the reason I asked in prior presentations, you pointed out that it's a short season for doing work, because you're doing it
Yeah.
during the summer.
Yeah.
And you got a lot listed, lots of roofs, so I'm envisioning, based on what you've said in prior years, that it would have to be spread out. So this number is call it an appropriation year.
You got it.
Not a work.
It,
year.
right, and these are estimates as well, so, so if I could, just to give you an example, if I may, like, if you're doing like a roof repair, you might not be able to do all the school's roofs all at the same time, because you've got Bartlett, Maple, and Goffstown High School, that would need roof repairs or re-roofing. You might not be able to get to them all in that, 8-week window, while school is not in session. So it could be a 2-year project. It could honestly go 3 years, but it's really what, as you mentioned, the funding would be in that year. And then when you borrow that money, you're holding it in escrow. So, and then the warrant article also would allow you to do it over multiple years, not just a single year.
So in answer to Tim's question, although it shows a big number in that year, presumably taxpayers would be paying for it over a number of years,
Yes.
either the bond or the
Yep,
lease.
15, 20 years more than likely. So that's where, like I said, with that other example from a couple of years ago, where you're talking $3.3 million, and now you have a $262,000 payment. It's the $262,000 payment that typically you can yourselves with, at the CIP in terms of leveling things out.
But we don't have anything in our matrix that shows that is a question, I guess.
Property line 282, page 8. Are you on 282, page 8? It shows some approximate amounts for the bond payment.
So if I could just interrupt for a minute, you should all be looking at the matrix that was handed out tonight, which has both the town and the school, in
Right,
case
yeah,
there's any
yeah.
confusion.
Well, I'm on the new matrix.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
so
want to make sure.
I appreciate that, Mr. Chair. So on page 8, line numbers 281 was the example I just gave you. So now we have a $262,000 payment based upon that lease, that project. Line 282, assuming that we did $10 million worth of projects, if it was financed over 10 years at a 6% interest rate, we'd have about an $880,000 payment.
You got 20 years written here. not
20
10.
years. I'm sorry, did I say something else?
You said 10 years.
10 million at 20 years, I apologize.
Yep.
And so you're looking at roughly an $880,000 payment a year is what we would be concerned with.
Now, Scott, does that money get raised by increasing funding to the school department?
Yeah, you would have to raise that money.
That $1 million,
Yeah,
or whatever the
yeah.
two amounts
Yeah.
add up to?
So the $262,000 will be part of the budget for this coming year.
Okay,
In the first year, we had better than what we anticipated in terms of rebates. So we didn't owe $262,000. I think we owed something like
regardless.
$40,000 because we had that much more incentives. So in this year's budget, you're going to see a line for 262 to make that payment.
And that's a new number.
It is not, no, this year we budgeted some because we knew we'd have some more energy incentives. I anticipate we'll see 200,000 of it will be new, or 220 will be new spending.
Are these leases with escape clauses?
Yes,
Wow.
yep, there's non-appropriation clauses, it's in accordance, I don't know, I don't have the RSA in front of me, but, yeah, there are non-appropriation clauses. The premise of that, Jim, is that these are usually things that could be quote-unquote repossessed if you did not make your payment. So the theory behind it is that if we didn't make our payment, Bank of America, who is the financing
Come
agent,
take your boilers
could
away.
come and take our boiler. Exactly.
Unlikely.
Very unlikely, so,
So you move out to 2930 if the $10 million municipal bond gets approved as a warrant article, I'm guessing, Scott?
yeah.
Then we would raise taxation for those out years to pay for that. And then there's the elephant in the room
Yeah.
on page 6 of your matrix.
Elementary school, right?
217, line 218 for another 70 million to go on top of the other borrowing that's really just getting started.
It's a placeholder. It's
Yeah.
to let the community know that we have space needs issues at our elementary school. I believe it's been stated time and time again at school board meetings that there is really not an ample supply of state building aid to go around in the state budget. I don't know the exact amount, but you were mentioning before, as we started, about a project in Barnstead, 22 million. I don't think there's more than 50 or 60 million dollars a year that's being allocated for schools for building aid. And there are some building projects for.
TV members, don't quote me on the number. That was just a
I'm
number that
sorry.
got tossed around the
I-
job site, so.
I apologize.
I won't, I won't.
Let's just say that it was multi-million.
It was a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. And so the reality of it is that there's not enough money in the state budget to build one elementary school a year in any school district in New Hampshire. So I'm not saying we need to keep the community attuned to the fact that right now Maple Avenue is overcrowded. We know that we've got all these different housing developments. There's really no state building aid. And, you know, I gave Joanne and I think the committee, you know, you're looking at, like, if you were to bond this over 30 years, I believe it was like, what did I say? It was like 5 million. It was a lot of money a year. That's a couple of dollars on the tax rates. I'm not, you know, the numbers are what the numbers are. But in the past, there was fairly robust building aid, 30, 45% building aid on projects like this to help communities build schools. That for 10 years, that's gone. I will share with you that, like, a community, I think you work in Concord, right? Like, so Concord was looking at a new middle school, like over $200 million for a middle school. So it's there,
Maybe
Mr.
it'll
Chair.
come back by then.
Yeah, maybe. I have a bridge that I'll sell you, off of Henry Bridge.
I think the
I
town
think-
already bought it.
They did, a couple times over, right?
Down at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah. Okay, you got distracted me there.
That was the idea, Scott.
And you won. So it's there. I mean, I say it's a placeholder, but it kind of is a placeholder, and it's awareness. Is it going to happen? We'll see. But
Could you
it's-
speak to one last item? When Randy was here,
Yeah.
Randy stated that Goffstown is one of the few communities that is bucking the statewide trend that elementary
Yeah.
school enrollments are declining. Is that a fair statement?
That is a very fair statement. And what you're going to see, we're going to be seeing more, I believe we're going to be seeing more state aid coming in terms of number of students proportionately. So Goffstown is bucking that trend. You'll hear on the television or other media that New Hampshire school enrollments are declining over the last 10 years. Very accurate statement, but not in Goffstown. So Goffstown, it dipped a little bit, now it's kind of plateaued, but so many communities you're seeing just declining enrollments where they're closing down schools, consolidating schools. Manchester's a good example of that. But in Goffstown, we're not seeing that. As a matter of fact, we're seeing the opposite. So Maple Avenue is well over capacity.
Picking up more
We
kids.
are concerned about developments in Bog Road. Well, you know, I mean, there's a lot of them.
Bog Road has
Well, we don't really
Yeah.
need to,
very,
Yeah.
we don't need to go there.
Yeah.
very few elementary, but maybe, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds that will.
Yeah, I don't know, like,
study
I'm just saying,
yeah.
whether it's that, the one on Danish Park, there's a lot of them that are, there's another
Yeah.
one planned, I think, near
Yeah.
the Shell. So the board is concerned about that. We're talking about, what do we do, we have some capacity at Bartlett, but we are definitely bucking that trend over the last 10 years. And it is a desirable place to live. That is evidenced by just what's going on in Hillsborough County, et cetera. So people want to live in Goffstown. With that, it puts some pressure on the schools,
Any questions for Scott, please, from any board committee
No.
members?
I think the only silver lining would be if the school did get approved, some of the stuff might not happen at the other school to offset some of that cost, some of the repair work, if they knew the new school was coming down the road.
Can I drag up an old statement from the school department from when Glen Lake School was built?
Sure. You could do whatever you want.
Well, they brought a plan to the planning board
Yeah.
and showed us the Glen Lake
Yeah.
as the building as it is now.
Yeah,
And then they had a Mylar overlay
Yeah.
which showed it created into the third elementary
it's in our
school.
basement, I believe.
Has that been abandoned, that whole idea?
Not necessarily.
I know you put the portables in the back.
Yeah, I think the issue is also cost. So, when the school had a facilities planning committee 2 to 3 years ago, we looked at different options. If to make that an elementary school, we would have to put in
The core facility.
all the core. And then looking at that, then looking at the age of Bartlett, looking at the age of Maple, the thought process was, okay, what direction, do we go in? And there were two routes that the committee kind of went through. There was one was building a new elementary school on that Norman Road property, or building a new middle school. If it was a new middle school, Mountain View would be converted into a larger elementary school. And if it was the other way around, then it would be, you would close Glen Lake and Bartlett, you'd close Maple Avenue and Bartlett and put them all in one location. So it was a cost factor for that.
Okay.
But
I just
that's
haven't.
not to say it has certainly not been abandoned, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because we were cleaning the basement like 2 months ago, and we came across all of those.
Well, I just have the
Boards.
elephant's memory from the planning board.
You do, and I remember it too, when the place was gonna be a lake, and we did have rain, and didn't float away too, so we survived.
See what
that.
happens to enrollment in the next 10 years.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, that's for sure.
Anything else for Scott from committee members? Thank you, Scott, for taking the time to come in.
Thank you for taking me, appreciate it. If you have any questions, just reach, you can just call me and I'll help you.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, have a good night.
Thank you. All right, it's early enough to ask committee members for the general consensus that I have from my own opinion is all the departments came well prepared, and they seem to be doing a better job than when they used to bring in the super lists that we had to move them around a lot. They seem to be more well thought out and less problematic. Does anybody have any issues with any of the town vehicle requests to begin with? Any of the departments, the police department, the fire department?
We have no control over the prices of the vehicles going up. That's probably gonna be our hardest hump to get over, so that we can purchase these vehicles. You look at the price of the tower, $2 million. Who would have ever thought we're gonna spend $2 million on a fire truck? I didn't. I never thought I'd see it in my day, but we're probably gonna see it, Just
There's a lot of competing funds.
true, very true.
I think it's important for the public to know too how much time the departments put into looking out over the next 10 years and spreading it out. I think a lot of people this last budget cycle were kind of unaware that CIP existed, that there was active efforts made to spread out those kinds of purchases, like tower trucks and stuff like that.
And one of the biggest reasons why we did the schedule, the way we did it, to avoid that hump up and down, up and down. I know a couple of years ago, we were fighting that hump really bad.
Right.
And we'd finally get to a certain spot where we were okay, and then because we didn't do it, we took money away, we're back up, so. They did in my opinion, they did a very good job.
I felt the same.
All right. Public Works did a thorough presentation last week. They were, I don't know how many other departments got zeroed out at the last 25 budget, I don't see. I think pretty much, looks to me like Public Works was zeroed out when some of the other departments weren't in the 25 budget, so it's just a resubmittal basically of their prior year's requests for 26.
Looks like the police department got zeroed out for their parking lot expansion last year, or this year.
I'm talking about vehicles, not projects.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the police just
we'll
got
come-
switched to the cheaper vehicle.
You're right.
Yeah, I was talking about the parking lot. I skipped ahead.
So,
What page you on?
I'm on page 2, I just went to the Public Works, on the updated matrix dated 8/7. So, does anybody have any issues with the vehicle requests from the departments? Want to forward them as presented or make any changes?
I'm in favor of a 4 as presented, because as you stated, they seem to come to this meeting much better prepared. I mean, my 4th year here, it's changed drastically, where there were lots of items that we could definitely move around. I'm not seeing that. Jim might agree with me.
I also think with the town, getting stuff put on hold, any replacement schedule, when you put it on hold, you're just costing yourself money.
Postpone it.
In theory, and kicking the
And
can.
I know that
But it
Public
ends up
Works,
costing in
I'm
the
sorry.
repairs, sorry.
my mistake.
Yeah.
I know that Public Works stated at the last meeting the lead time for ordering vehicles, and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure
Oh.
it's the same for the fire department vehicles, it's gotta be a 2 to 3 year wait for a vehicle.
And some 4, depending on what the situation is.
All right, do they hold the price? If you buy it, do they hold the price? That's one question I'd like to know.
No.
Well, then
Oh,
how do
really?
how do you pay for it then?
Yeah.
I know they don't hold it because
Uh-huh.
I've heard the fire chief say, I gotta put another X amount of dollars, just the way things are,
Okay.
unfortunately.
All right, capital projects, I was not here for the police capital project. Is anybody, or the fire, are there any capital projects from either police or fire that drew a red flag for anybody at this committee? Sometimes when you look at the department priority, and if it's a 3 or higher, sometimes we would look at them and move things out if it was crowding the bottom line because it's not an immediate need. The one I'm looking at is the parking lot expansion, but apparently they're going to use their impact fees to pay for the parking lot expansion. They're not going to use or request any tax money.
Correct, and
Yeah.
they said that Public Works could help them
Public
with
Works is
that.
gonna help it up because they're gonna
So-
just turn it into gravel and then hopefully,
Yeah,
use
they're
other
gonna
money
do the
when they
initial
pave
work
it.
and then.
Yeah, take the money when they pave it on the other end.
And the problem is if we keep pushing back 3s, they never get done, or suddenly they become 1s in a hurry, so.
I'm also surprised that they put it as a number 3 since the safety issues for the officers slipping on ice.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Well, it is what it is.
One bad slip and fall away.
So no problems with the police department's capital requests, the locker room expansion, the parking lot expansion? There's another big elephant in the room in 2030, which is right before the school's request, so
Well,
Yeah, that goes.
that'll take thought.
Yeah, well, those are placeholders, and they
We know
identify it.
Right.
Okay, if no one has any problems, I'll move down to the fire projects. They have one project, Mast Road Fire Station renovation. That's all I see for 26. Am I reading it correctly?
Yes.
I believe so.
All right. And then you move down, is that all right with everyone?
Yep.
Okay, move down to the Public Works. They gave their 2 projects. The road plan, which is sort of the chopping block item in a lot of cases. and the culvert rehab for a $2 million request. So, he does have revenues at the bottom to offset those items. They're in the highway block grant and the impact fees that they want to use. We good with them?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but-
I think we're seeing that the cost of deferring, you know, things, they still need work and still become more expensive, so. And I think
Well,
Adam did a good.
the only other way you do it is you just do less and people drive on bumpy roads and they suck it up. That's it. As a former road agent, that's all you can do.
And then they go and cry to the selectmen,
Yeah.
the select board.
All right, we heard the library project tonight, the windows. It sounds to be great if they could get a grant. No, they talked about paving this year. The windows
That's
are
the,
something else.
that's the paving on top of
Yeah, my
the,
mistake. I was looking at the
for
25
yesterday,
number.
last, for 2025's project.
Thank you, Brad. Good with that, everybody?
That is, for that kind of building, these are pretty minor
Yeah,
costs.
for now.
It would appear that admin is asking for nothing in 26. I see zeros.
Yeah.
Park and Rec, the dog park at Roy Park, and the pickleball courts.
Looking to fund those through,
Impact fees and revolving fund, right, Brad?
that's correct.
I believe they're under
So
some
that's
type
a-
of pressure that they
so
have
that
to
becomes
do it
zero.
because it was a pool,
So
so
that
they have to
becomes
put
a zero
some use.
impact to the taxpayers? Is that what I'm reading?
I think so, yeah.
Yes.
Well,
So you can't argue with zero.
Well,
no additional taxation.
no addition, that's it. Yeah, you gotta
So the town, on page
make sure you get
5,
that wording correctly.
the total town projects are all summed up on, and revenues end at line 170. Sewer Department made their presentation tonight regarding their projects, and they have Joe, and I think that's a misprint for 26.
The 550.
550.
The request for 550 for a 2015 F-350, is that one that was funded and paid for this year? It appeared again in 26. In 25, they adopted 90,000 for a replacement vehicle, and it shows like it's being re-requested in 26.
Oh, I see.
It should not be there, I don't believe. So I think we can strike a line through that, and you'll have to get the matrix
Right.
Line,
Double check
line
that.
173.
okay.
Because as I looked at, remember in the narrative, the vehicle was actually 2030.
Yeah, and that is in it on the next line down, the 2019 Dodge Ram that they purchased used. They want to replace that in 2030.
When Corey was just here, he mentioned, let me just find it.
Mentioned what, Joanne?
I'm just looking for it, hold on a second.
Oh, yeah, so,
He said, replacing a Dodge pickup truck if necessary.
in 2000.
He didn't say what year.
But
Yeah, it's in
the-
the- it's in our-
The sheet says 2030.
Well, in
Okay.
the narrative that he gave us, which
Yeah.
it was,
Well, the sheet that they submitted for it is in your binder, and
2030,
it's 2030.
and a priority 3.
So that should be,
And that'll be assessed for condition in 2030, and if it needs to be replaced, it'll be a placeholder for 2030.
And the funding is gonna be user fee.
Funder is all paid for by the users. So we can strike the 90 for line 173 for 2026.
okay.
Do you think at that time, will that 90,000 cover the truck?
Yes, because the money they budgeted, 90,000 for the pickup that was just purchased, it came in for less than that.
Good.
There was unused funds, which went back to the sewer.
Amazing,
enterprise
something
fund.
came in under what you budget.
And that's what I was gonna say too, like, when the camera work, if you guys are collecting more fees, it just stays in your budget till when the big projects come in the out years, right?
Right, it goes into an enterprise fund.
Enterprise one, yeah,
The enterprise fund holds the reserve monies.
gotcha.
Okay. Sewer commission projects, we talked about the rehabilitation in 26. They described that. So that ends the town and sewer. Town projects is one line, and then the total sewer projects another, because just for the knowledge, the sewer budget is now a separate article on the town ballot. No longer it is part of the town's budget. They changed that in the last year because the finance department requested that the sewer do a standalone budget as a warrant.
Well, what if it gets voted down?
Doesn't matter, we're an enterprise fund, we're gonna do it anyway. We have to.
That's weird.
The only way to really do it right is do like the water commission, water precinct does, they have their own meeting
Yeah.
for their own budget. But the sewer department is on a kind of quasi-town agency because the sewer commissioners exist at the allowance of the voters. If the
I see. 'Cause
the voters said the sewer commission was to be absolved, we would be resolved. What's the word, Jim?
Dissolved.
Dissolved.
Because
You have more time in your hands.
because the water.
But then it would be all that would be turned over to the town.
Yeah, it's
And we're very protective of the way we run the sewer department. We like the way we run the sewer department in the black all the time. So we'd like to continue to run the sewer department.
Because the water commissioners are elected by. the
Water commissioners have a
users.
charter from the state of New Hampshire.
They're a village
Yeah,
district, so
and they're
they're
elected
a
by the
municipality
users.
within a municipality.
They have a charter. The sewer department does not have a charter. Okay, so if anybody have no issues, obviously, with everything we've discussed so far. We move on to the school. Scott gave us another explanation of things tonight to clear up any questions that anybody may have had. I personally would have liked to seen some of the items that were not in the bond in some of the out years showing, should the bond fail, this is how we're gonna raise funds and spend this much over the next several years, but it didn't work that way, and maybe next year we can see a different matrix from the school department. I think he heard it.
It's a bit of a roll of a dice.
Kind of a big roll of the dice. Because usually we would see roof repairs and something for the school in 27, then we'd see some other repairs in 28, and they would all be blocked out over a 7-year period with incremental changes up and down to try to balance them. And then every department priority for everything in the school budget is a 3. And 3 is deferrable, as I remember.
But that's because it's out 3 years anyway, so.
Right. So, I can't argue with something that's, they are asking for a few things in 26, 27. At Mountain View, they're asking for fire panel,
And there's the
Actually,
vestibules at the
vestibule, yep,
other
Yeah.
ones.
and a small amount for a wall and door entrance at Glen Lake.
And Bartlett too, and,
Mountain View, they want to do something with the fire panel. And
Yeah.
boys locker room showers and individual stalls. Is that the right line? No,
But none of them are,
Drainage issue.
the drainage issue, near the
Yeah.
5th grade wing.
Yeah.
One
Yes.
was 1 year
Oh,
out.
okay.
right, so they're not deferring totally.
No,
And-
they're-
oh, no, it was,
And they're free to come back next year and say, well, we'll change our mind and fill it in the conventional way.
So the school department is proposing for 26, 27, $562,000, which is line 283 on page 8. They're showing some E-rate grants as offsetting revenue, $300,000 from this capital reserve fund. No impact fees. So they're reducing the 562 by 350, right? Am I right, Jim? So it's $200,000 they're asking for in this upcoming year.
The impact fees, we can only hold for 5 years?
6.
How many?
6.
6. And you don't want them to lapse. So by not using impact fees, are you losing, are any going to lapse in those in
I
the
believe
meantime?
that, no, I believe they're tracking that
Okay.
pretty close.
If it lapsed, don't we lose that money,
Yeah,
Jim?
you have to give it
That's the
back.
point,
Yeah,
yeah.
we gotta give it back.
But, it's, you know, it's gotta be for capital items,
Yeah.
not operating, so you gotta schedule your capital items. to
The
take
list that you
advantage
can
of it.
use CI capital, what do you call it, impact fees for, is very specific.
Yeah.
You
We've
can't-
had a lot of conversation with the school district about the impact fees.
Using their money in a
the
timely
past
fashion.
year. Yes.
Good. Good. So, if you, I guess if you drag it all the way down to the last 3 lines, 300 to 302, Jim, help me out.
Well, I think the presentation, that when you make it to the board, you're gonna have to explain the bottom line for school in the 2028-29, that's the appropriation, but the actual tax impact, as Scott explained, will be spread out.
It's a bond.
Yeah, a bond or a lease would have the same impact, so the tax payments or tax rate or however we want to measure.
And
will
he
go
gave
up
us,
with
and
that.
he gave us the lease payment, or the bond payment,
Mhm.
in the matrix, so we can explain at the meeting what the expected
Yeah.
cost is that
Correct,
year.
yeah, because that's up in line 282, so. Yeah, because otherwise that number's gonna throw people, that big number at the bottom.
And then the big number happens in 30 again.
But we've got some big capital items that we know are coming down.
All right, well,
I'm gonna make a motion to approve and recommend that the matrix as amended by that minor tweak we talked about, the sewer truck, be presented with our recommendation to the planning board.
motion made by Jim. Anybody want to second it?
Also,
Seconded by Jack. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of sending this amended matrix to the planning board for approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So, once again, I would like whoever wants to come and present for a department, please, let's just do it right now. Brad, you said you want to do Parks and Rec?
I do Parks and Rec, and I've done sewer. I can do library too.
So I got your Parks and Rec, what else? Sewer?
Sewer and library?
Jack, you've come in the past, haven't you?
last year, my first year,
All right.
I did public works. Oh, I did
You
the
did?
school.
Public Works.
Vanessa, are you going to take time out, or are you too busy to come and hold Jack's hand?
I hold him like a baby.
Yeah.
I might attend, but it's
So,
only my second meeting.
Can yell from the back and tell me what I forgot.
so you are
about
gonna
the
do,
school.
you're gonna make the school presentation, Jack?
Yes. I already have it in my phone, that's how good I
All
am.
right, so that
I don't
leaves,
put anything in my phone.
I do with an alarm to tell me a half
Jim,
hour
are you going
before.
to make a presentation that
That's a
night?
good idea.
If you'd like me to, but if everybody else has grabbed them, I'm not complaining.
Well, nobody has taken the Public Works Department, the police, or the fire department.
Okay.
So I'm happy to take whatever's left.
Why don't you do Public Works, because you know more about that. Have more experience.
Okay, and you'll speak to the, Mark, you're welcome to come to the planning meeting and make a presentation for the fire if you feel so moved. If not, we understand.
I would rather not,
That's
just to, I don't wanna pick any sides, you know what I mean?
Yep. So Jim, are you going to handle the school fire and the
Yeah.
PD?
Yeah, okay.
Does that cover all the items?
You're getting off the hook.
Admin.
Oh,
We're gonna
admin.
be in
I'll take
budget,
admin.
we
Oh, you're
haven't got
gonna
our
be in budget
schedule yet, I
anyways,
think
yeah.
we'll have meetings then, because we'll be
Yeah,
doing
that's good.
tours.
Yeah.
If there's a
Yeah, yeah.
possibility we're
Haven't
gonna
got
be
our
away,
schedule
I'll
yet.
check with the chief.
Well, then
Could
I'll
not be
do,
tonight.
then I'll do 4 of them.
Yeah, okay, I'll let you know. When I
Wouldn't be
go
the
home,
first time.
I'll ask
You can
Dana.
pass one to me if you don't.
Quite
want.
honestly, since I left CIP many years ago, nobody ever came. It's only since you became the chair that you invited all these folks to come.
I like to spread the blame.
It's fine with me.
I withdraw my, never mind.
That's right.
All right, anything else from membership tonight?
Well, I just wanna say, if Jim can't make it, I'll take one of the others.
Okay, Brad. We'll figure it out the night of the meeting.
So write it in pencil. I want to thank,
I write a lot of stuff. in-
I want to thank Tim for running such efficient meetings that get us out early. The one meeting I ran, we were half an hour out later getting out. So, I guess
It was a
Well,
big
you
meeting.
had three departments.
Thank you for
They're
defending
big
me.
departments.
Yeah, you had fire and police. That's a big
Those are
night.
big ones.
I still get on the boat, that's all that matters.
I'd like to thank everybody for serving on this committee. It's a commitment, and I appreciate your commitment. Thank you.
No, it's not.
Thank you.
My hometown,
There you go.
and that's everybody knows me, committed to my town.
Civic duty.
All right, any other business for the committee before I ask for a motion? I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Also move.
Motion made
Second.
to adjourn, seconded by Mark. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Thank you, GTV, we are adjourned.